I'm Sonya, and this is my mother-in-law.
I'm Eva, and we're going to make Glums Wareniki. That's a Mennonite pierogi.
So it's a super simple recipe. There's only 6 ingredients in it. So we'll make the filling first, which is just dry cottage cheese with a dash of salt and 3 egg yolks.
But this time Sonya's only going to put 2 egg yolks in it because this is what we call the glums, but it's actually dry curd cottage cheese, and you can get it at any grocery store. Because we only have about 2 cups, or enough for 2 batches, it's typically 1 egg yolk per batch, so 2 cups would be 2 egg yolks.
We're going to save the egg whites for the dough.
And for the dough, we'll need more egg whites, so then the yolks will just go in the garbage.
Come on, egg.
So you just stir this up, and this is what we're going to put into the pockets. It's what's going to be in the wareniki, which we can call pierogies. So once we're done our dough, we'll put scoops of that into the squares. Okay, so
for the dough we need the 6 egg whites to do our double batch. Am I just throwing it in the garbage?
Yeah, just throw that out. So this recipe is an old family recipe from my background. I grew up as a child, a Mennonite child. My culture is Mennonite. My mom and 2 of my brothers and 2 of my sisters are still in the Mennonite community, and they are all practicing Mennonites. A little bit different for my one brother, but he's just in a different kind, a group that's called a little bit different name with a few different rules. But for myself, growing up, we ate a lot of this as a kid, and most of our food all had this cream gravy that we'll put on here after, and it's very delicious.
So normally you would have Mennonite sausage with this, but we're gonna just make do with farmer's sausage, and you just cook it in the oven, or you can fry it in a frying pan.
And the Mennonite sausage that we used to always have with it, we actually made our own, and my brothers still do. It's still something that a lot of them do.
So for the dough, it's just egg whites, milk, a teaspoon of salt, and then enough flour to make it firm. So again, I'm going to put in 2 cups because we're doubling our recipe.
So yeah, you just want to have enough flour for a firm dough. So typically I will start with 3 cups. And I will mix that up with my hands, and still fairly runny at this point, but I just mix it up. And then I will just continue to add flour. So there isn't really a set amount of flour, but I would say on average it's 6 cups. You just want to have a fairly firm dough.
And we're also going to put a 1/4 cup of oil, and we're going to actually double that because we're doing 2 batches.
And if any of you ever get a Mennonite cookbook, you will notice in the recipe in the Mennonite cookbook the oil is not part of the recipe. That is something that's kind of evolved over time, and the next generation started using the oil. It just helps the dough to stay together and be a little bit more firm. A little bit easier to use and roll out and flexible. So far I've put in 6 cups of flour, and I can tell just by the texture of it that I will need another cup for sure. it's a good idea to wear an apron because you do tend to get flour on your clothes quite a bit. So now I can tell that it's getting firm. And we're also going to be using some flour while we're rolling it out. So you don't want it to get too stiff because then it's going to be really hard to roll. So this is what it looks like. So you can see it's still fairly pliable. You're able to work with it fairly good, but we will have to add flour to it so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. And Sonya, you want to roll it out? You can either cut it in half, do a small piece at a time, or do the whole thing. It's up to you which you cut. It's a little easier if you do it in smaller pieces. Don't worry about the table. And you want to roll it out to about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. You don't want it too thick, but you also don't want it too thin because you don't want it to come apart when you're cooking it, boiling it. If it gets sticky, just add a little more flour on top. I can tell just by touching it how thick it is, and it's a little bit too thick, so about half that thickness. So now we're going to cut it. So Mennonite Perogies aren't made with a little, they're just made by hand. They're not made with a machine or anything. So when we cut them, just cut them into squares. And try to get as many as you can. And we want to try and make them as square as we can, because we're going to put the cottage cheese on there, and then we're going to fold them and close them up. And those are a little lopsided, but that'll. All right. More? That's probably good. All right. Smells good already. This is different from the potato ones in the sense that it's just cottage cheese and egg, and so that's what kind of holds it together. The egg helps hold the cottage cheese together as it boils. And then you'll put a sauce on it when it's done.
Now we fold.
Now we have to close them up. So with closing them up, you just take your fingers and pinch the sides shut. And you want to make sure that you pinch them enough that it's one seam so they don't come apart in the water. And they're just a little triangle. Typically when you're done, if 85% come out without coming apart, that's a good job. I probably learned to make these when I was like 8 or 10 years old. My mom would have us all standing around the table closing pierogies. And she had 10 children, so
wow,
it was a lot of us.
Everybody makes their own pierogies.
So she had to make a few more than this. So I threw this one on here. It has a little cottage cheese, but you don't need to worry about that. And that's the other thing I'll mention as well.
You can probably mention that.
So now we'll roll out this one. Might have to move this way a little bit. So one thing about these pierogies, or wareniki, however you want to call it, you can also make what they call lazy man pierogies, lazy man wareniki. And then what you would do is you would just add your cottage cheese right into the dough, and then you would roll it out and you boil it in strips, and you don't have to make all the pockets then, if you were just making one batch for yourself or something. So if it's starting to stick, we need to add flour. Flour is a really important part of rolling out the dough. Just, you want to make sure that it doesn't stick to the table and that it just really rolls nicely so you can get it even. It doesn't really matter how much flour you use, whatever's left, you just shove into the garbage. You're in my way. They're in your way. I'll go behind you. Just poke a hole a little bit. Let me just check it a little bit more. You'll be good. Just make sure you come right to the edge, Sonya. Right over the edge. You want to go, yep. And that one there too. Just right over the edge. Just stretch it right up. Yep. So I think you're pretty good. Maybe just a little bit right here. Feel the difference. And just so you know for next time. See?
Just running out of room on the table.
There you go. You need a different knife, or is that okay?
That's okay. That may not have been quite big enough, but
It doesn't matter. You can make them a little smaller, you can make them a little bigger. It's personal choice. I know the store-bought pierogies are probably a third of the size of these type of pierogies, but I would just do that one in half, and then you can cut this one. It'll be a little bit of an odd shape one. Take two little ones. There. Another thing we do sometimes is if they are too small to put cottage cheese into, just have them, just the dough, cook the dough.
this one's going to be small too.
Yeah, that's okay. My mom made 150 of these one time for a function. There was not one left. Not one. I think we had 30 people or something. So.
How long do you think it took her to make the 150, did you say?
Yeah, 150. For my mom, it probably took her like 2 hours. She's pretty fast.
folding machines.
Yep. So at this time, now that we are folding these, I would turn on the water so it comes to a boil. I've already preheated it one time because I want it to come to a boil fairly quickly once I've made them.
About the sauce that you put on, is it just a cream and sour cream, or what is it exactly?
It's whipping cream, thick whipping cream, and if you can get farmer's whipping cream, then that's even better. Like if you can get a fresh whipped cream, but it's whipping cream and a little sour cream, and we just bring it to a boil. So maybe a tablespoon of butter if you choose. I don't usually. And then you just pour it over these and you eat them like that. And it's called schmaltfat. That's what the cream gravy is called, schmaltfat. Then we can just put the pierogies right in the water and we'll boil it for approximately 5 to 7 minutes. We want it to come to a rolling boil and we want them to float, which will tell us that the dough is done. So right now they'll probably sink, but then they will float. You need to have a fairly big pot. This pot should hold all of these pierogies. So this is starting to come to a boil. So you can see how these pierogies are floating. So they're probably another maybe 2 minutes and then they'll be done. And then we can eat them. So while we're waiting for the last little while for that to cook, we should put our cream gravy in our frying pan, which I already put a little butter in. And we can just put the cream in there and we'll bring it to a boil. So the whipping cream is 33%. You can buy it at any grocery store. And the sour cream is, you just buy it at any grocery store. Sonia, you want to do it or you want me to? Just keep an eye on our pierogies so they don't boil over. And it smells like our sausages are done.
Now the pierogies are cooked, so we just have to take them out. Normally a slotted spoon would work great so you don't get all the water, but we'll just do it this way.
And it looks like Sonia did a great job. I don't see many broken ones.
Oh, there's one. But I think I cut it with the spoon.
Yes, so how to freeze them. When you're done making them on the table, before you cook them, you don't want to cook them, you leave the flour on, put them on a cookie sheet and make sure they're all separate. If they touch each other, the dough will stick. So you want to make sure they're separate and just leave them open, don't put them in a bag or anything, slide them into the freezer and they'll quick freeze. When they're frozen, put them in a Ziploc bag, close the bag, and you've got however many. You can put 12 in a bag and you've got a dozen for the next meal. Then when you take them out, you'll take them right from frozen, put them in the boiling water. When they come to a boil, let them boil for about 5 minutes, and then they'll be done. So once that's done and scooped up, we just pour the gravy right over top. And we'll scoop them out of there like that, and we'll just put a little gravy on our pierogies whenever we put them on our plate. Just grab the bottom of it, don't grab the top. So some goes on the table, and so the only thing with the pierogies is sometimes people will eat them with the cream, but they will actually put sugar on it, sprinkle sugar on it. And some people will also have ketchup, and some people have salt. You can have pepper as well. That's a preferred way of eating it for Mennonite people. And they may make some fruit ones too. You can make them with berries, raspberries, strawberries, and eat them the same way.